Jen from Fabulous Paper Emporium, and welcome to my channel where we try to explore a lot of things paper craft related, and specifically with regards to cards, albums, folios, those kinds of things. Today I am starting off a series. So the first of every month I will provide you with a card sketch or a template, if you will. And basically what this card sketch will do is give you kind of like a base or an idea, and you can use whatever designer papers you would like to use to create this card for whatever occasion you would like to make it. So I'm going to start off today with just going through the basic requirements, and then we're going to make a card together. And I have another, so we're going to have like two ideas. And I figured since June, we've got lots of graduations, we have Father's Day. Those are going to be my themes for this month. So here we go. Anyways, so all of these card sketches are based on an A2 card size. So if you're not familiar with an A2 card size, it is, well, for these purposes, because this is in portrait, we're going to do 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So that is what the front of your card would be, which means that you can get 2 of these cards from one 8 1/2 by 11 sheet of cardstock. So we're going to cut this in a moment, but for now I'm going to go through this. So our first layer, which is this beige, let me just get something to point. So this beigey color is going to be cut at 4 by 5 1/4. We then have 3 strips, and each of these are 1 by 5. And then we have a circle here, so you could have any kind of, you can cut a circle, you can, if your collection comes with stickers, you could perhaps mount them. I did put this on foam tape as well as the space for the sentiment, so it is elevated a little bit. So if you are using a sticker, maybe you could put the sticker on a piece of cardstock and give that a little border. Perhaps you could also apply it to some chipboard, and that could give you some dimension if you don't want the dimension from a foam sticker. And then of course we have our sentiment. Now the sentiment is going to vary depending on the stamp you're using, or the sticker, or the length of the sentiment, to be quite honest. So these two things may kind of vary depending on what you're using, what the length of your sentiment, and where you want to place them, but this is going to give you a good idea. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. Oh, and the circle here, this is a 2-inch circle. So I would say probably keeping it around the 2 to 3 inch. But you'll notice, actually I'll show you one of the samples that I did. So this is a graduation card, obviously. And so I just cut out the graduate, graduate from one of the cut-aparts that was part of the collection. And then I just applied that to some foam tape, and I used congratulations, and we have a cute little card. And then on the inside, obviously you could put another piece that is 4 by 5 1/4. Obviously it's black, so you do white or gray, something that you can read on, and that would be that card. So that's sample number 1. We're going to make the second one together. Normally in my tutorials I have everything cut ahead of time, but I do not. I just have some leftover pieces from Rad Dad, which is something we do have in store, in case you're wondering. And I have some cut-aparts that I already cut from. I'm either going to use the Rad Dad as the circle, or I'm going to fussy cut some of the Happy Father's Day and use that. I haven't quite decided, so we're going to decide that together in a moment. But to start with, I am using an 8 1/2 by 11 sheet of cardstock. I'm going to put that aside for now. And so I'm just going to grab my paper trimmer, and for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to use my small one. I keep thinking that I have 2 sheets of paper, but I don't I believe I do. So it's just one sheet of cardstock. Now, you have two ways of cutting this. You have cutting it with the 11.5 side at the top, or in which case you would cut this at 5.5 because we're cutting it in half, or you cut it with the 8.5 at the top and you would cut this at 4.25. Now the difference between cutting it on the 11.5 inch, if you were to do that, then this card comes from that part of the cardstock. So you would get two cards, and it would either be portrait, which is taller, or it would be landscape, which is wider, and it would open like this. Obviously, I've designed this card to go portrait, but with a few minor adjustments, you can do this landscape. And I think I put those comments, or sorry, the measurements at the in the description box. So for the purposes of our video, I'm going to cut this 11.5 inches, 11 inches at the top. I'm going to move that to 5.5. So now I have my piece for my base. Oh, I just realized we are going to do black for the second layer. Okay, so the first layer is going to be 4 inches by 5.25. And the reason why I'm going with black, it's kind of dark, but all of my designer paper going on top is going to be white, or white as the base anyways. So I just want to make sure that we don't have things that blend in too much. Plus it's for Dad, so I feel like darker cardstock is totally acceptable. Okay, so we have our top layer, we have our base, and now we're going to cut out our 3 strips. So I'm going to grab my first bit of designer paper. So I'm going to cut this because I don't want a 1-inch strip that goes 12 inches. I'm going to cut this at 5 inches first, and then I'm going to cut this at 1. And I just want to see if there's a better side, because if I can cut, if there is something that you want to focus on, if you want one of these messages to kind of be a little bit more, you know, clearer and not cut off, then you may want to just double check. But I kind of like, since I think we're going to do the Happy Father's Day, I think, which has this kind of shape, I think I'm going to cut that just from that side. So I don't think it really matters. So I'm going to cut 1 inch like that. So we're going to need 3 strips. Now these are double-sided papers, so if you wanted to cut the 12-inch strip at 1 inch, then you would obviously get at least 2 of these, and you could use the front and the back if you so wish. Okay, so that's card number 1. I'm just going to measure this. Sweet. So this one actually is, I think it's 5, if not a little bit longer. So we cut that, and then I'm just going to double check and make sure we're at 5 inches. Just a little bit needs to be cut off there. So that's 1, 2, and then I have my third piece here. So I'm going to cut this at 1 inch. And then at 5. Okay, so so far so good. And I'm going to bring in my score pal, and the reason why is we can absolutely put this in our scoreboard in order to score it, obviously, and we would do the 8.5 inch side at the top and score it at 4.25, or we could just fold it over, which is completely acceptable, And I'm going to grab something to burnish this edge, and we have our base. So I'm going to do the black on top, and it gives us a nice little border around the outside. So first I'm going to apply my liquid glue. Okay. And I love using this glue because it does give you a teeny bit of wiggle room. So if you do need to, you know, move it around, push it around, it does give you an opportunity to do so. Okay, so now we have our first layer down. Before I apply these strips, I am, just because this is something I'm doing on a regular basis, I'm going to take some of my vintage photo. If you happen to have another color that works better with the card or the pattern paper that you've chosen, by all means, you could use, for this one, you could use orange, green, blue. There's kind of like a, I don't know, it's not quite turquoise, but you could use black, gray, really a myriad of colors if you wanted to, depending on what your pattern or what the theme of your card is. So just gonna go around, and it just adds a little bit of something. So this is optional, so you do not have to do that by any stretch. Okay, and now I'm just going to figure out where I'm going to put my or what order I'm going to put the strips. And I think I like something like this. That's how it's going to work, because this one is going to be seen. The other two are patterns. The one in the middle is words. And that is my logic for that. So I know not exactly, you know, everybody's logic, but that is mine. Okay. A little bit that came out there. So I like to do one side first, the other side is going to be next, and I leave the middle for last. And this way I'm just eyeballing these. I'm not overly super particular about where they are as far as I just try to make sure that the borders are not too large on one side and not on the other. But at least this way, doing the left and the right first, you can then easily, I'm just going to turn this around this way, and then I can center this one in between those two as best as possible. Okay, so that is the base. So this comes together super, super quickly. Sometimes the hardest thing is coming up with an idea, or, you know, where to put your pattern paper. So these card sketches are designed just to be super quick, super easy, kind of no muss, no fuss. So the only thing that's going to take me a little bit of time is fussy cutting this Happy Father's Day. I'm not worried about these dots in the background. I think I'm just going to leave a little border behind where the major kind of outline is. So I'm going to fussy cut this right now, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the Happy Father's Day is cut out. I do have two options here. It is rather large, so because this kind of encapsulates my sentiment as well as kind of a focal point to the front of the card, I think I'm going to leave it as this and not do a sentiment for this one. So, but instead, what I am going to do is I'm going to back this on either some black or some green cardstock. So now that is the choice I have to make, is do I select black, which already is here? I think I'm actually going to go with the green. So in order to do that, I will stick this. I'll give myself a border on 2 sides. Oh, you know what? Before I start gluing this down, I'm just going to add a bit more ink. I'm going to ink the edge for this, and then we'll be ready to go. Okay, so just apply some glue around the outside, along the inside, and okay, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to fussy cut this just to give a bit of contrast between the focal point, so truly, you know, accentuating the focal point, and then you know, giving it some contrast between that and the strips, as well as the black background that we have going on our first layer. I'm gonna cut that off because it's getting a bit challenging to wield that around with all that extra paper. And we have a train. Perfect. And there is our Happy Father's Day greeting. And I'm just going to grab some of my foam squares. Sadly, I've got some really small ones today. So, but backing the designer paper on some cardstock has made that extra kind of sturdy. So I feel like we'll be totally fine with this. It'll be secure enough, that's for sure. And I'm just going to peel all of these off. Oops. Oh my word. There's so many of here that I've forgotten which ones have come off. Oh, there's a bit of a shine to them, so it should be good. And then placing this wherever you'd like to place it. I like offsetting it as opposed to trying to get, you know, right dead center. Offsetting it seems to work best, at least for me. So, and don't worry if you're not right in line with the strips. That's not what they're there for. So I'm going to place mine right here, and I have a beautiful Father's Day card that you could certainly write in here, but if you want to cut a piece that goes on the inside, if you wanted to stamp something, write a sentiment separately just in case you make a mistake, because if you're like me, you do that, then your white piece of cardstock that goes in here is going to be cut at 4 by 5 1/4, same exact size as what I used for the black cardstock. So that is the Father's Day. So this was our card sketch, and this was the graduation card that we did, or that I did previous. So those are the ideas for this month. And so July 1st, we'll have another card sketch, and same thing with August 1st, September 1st, you get the idea. So if you want to pop over to our Facebook page and share your creations, I would love to see that. I'm going to post this idea, the pictures, on our Facebook page, which is Fabulous Paper Emporium. And I look forward to seeing your creations too. Hopefully you have enjoyed this quick but hopefully informative tutorial. And I look forward to seeing you on July 1st when we'll come up with some more card sketches. Thank you so much. If you have any questions whatsoever or any feedback, please leave them in the comments below. I really do appreciate everything that, every comment that's made. and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.